Hey everyone, welcome to another live and unscripted Wednesday. It's March 15th of 2023 and you're with your host Jennifer Saunders and our guest today. I'm so excited to introduce our guest today. Beautiful soul who I met while in India, and we had some crazy sauce experiences over there, but we'll tell you about that in just a little bit. So for those of you who may be new to the podcast or the chatty chat today, this is kind of how this started. I actually have a podcast called Living Courageously Exposed. I didn't like all the production work of it, and I just liked having these real heart to heart live conversations. I typically am interviewing or chatting with people who I've met maybe once and thought, there's something really cool about you. And I think that I would like to share it out to my audience and the world because we know the world is watching. So I ask them, hey, are you interested in doing a live conversation? And they always say, well, what are the questions? And I say, there are no questions. And it kind of freaks them out. But what I love about this format is it really allows us to lead with the heart and to let inspiration be the guide. And so that is the format of live and unscripted. Our guests come on and I ask one question in the beginning, and then we let the conversation flow in a natural form. And it's just always really amazing what comes out and what tidbits of knowledge and yummy nuggets that you get to take away and that you can apply in your own life as well. So I'm excited for that. I'm really excited for our guest today. But how we start always is just taking a moment to become present, where you can lend your energy to ours and we can lean in to each other and really allow that inspiration to take place. So we're going to get present by way of breathing. We're going to do simple box breathing today, which is breathing in through your nose for a 4 or 5 count, whatever feels comfortable for you. You're going to hold that inhale. You're going to release that inhale. So you're going to exhale through your mouth, and then you're going to hold that exhale all for a 4 or 5 count. Today, as you do that, I'm going to invite you to think of a place as you're inhaling, of a place that you just felt really powerful. For me, the first thing that comes to my mind is the first time I climbed the Grand Tetons and I'm standing on top of what felt like the world, and being able to look out and see the amazing perspective. Like my life changed in that moment. So today, as I'm breathing in, I'm going to think about being on top of the Grand Tetons. So whatever that is for you, whatever that place is that just allows you to just feel on top of the world. And as you exhale, I'm going to invite you to just release any discontent or crappy mind chatter that goes against that feeling of being on top of the world. We'll do the first one together, and then we'll repeat it for probably 2 or 3 cycles on your own. And then we'll get into the really, really yummy parts of this. What I love about this opportunity is it's something that you can practice any day of your life. It doesn't take a lot of time. It doesn't take a lot of tools and energy. And it allows you to let go of all of the stuff that's already happened in the day. And it allows you to let go of anything else that you think might happen in the day and just bring you to this space right here, right now, where we can just be present with each other. So as you do this, I'm going to invite you to take a downward gaze or closed eyes, whichever of those feels most comfortable or most safe for you. And we'll get started. I'm going to take a closed eyes. Take that first breath in, really feeling it deep into your belly, standing in that place where you felt on top of the world as you hold that inhale, releasing through your mouth any crappy mind chatter you got going on, holding that exhale. And now just repeat for 2 or 3 cycles on your own. Awesome. Go ahead and finish up whatever cycle that you're in. And when you're ready, Feel free to open your eyes. Doesn't that feel so nice? Like I love what it does for me because I feel myself settle. I feel my mind slow down. I feel my heart slow down because I get on and I'm like all excited to get into this. And I'm running, my mind and my mouth are running 100 miles an hour. And it just gives me that opportunity to just come present with myself. And for me, I noticed today, I was like, oh, my toes are curled under as I'm standing on this mat on my floor. And I noticed that there's a wrinkle near my waist in my sweatshirt, and I could feel the hat on my ear. Like just this moment to just be really present with you. I would love to hear what your experience is, and then also just invite you to practice often, to just practice this often. If you find yourself in just moments of like, you think you're going to blow your top, or you're maybe having some road rage, just breathe. Just take a deep breath. It doesn't even have to be box breathing. Just take a few deep breaths. All right. Oh my gosh. If any of you need to use the bathroom, I'd run and do it really quickly. If you haven't got your snacks, I'd grab those too, because you don't want to miss what's about to happen with my friend Tami Gaines. I'm actually going to bring her on the screen. Tami is a spitfire of a person, and I love it because I am too. I actually don't know that much about Tami other than she runs an incredible business. She's an amazing mom. I met her daughter, Bree. Is it Bree or Brienne? Now
Bria.
Yeah, Bria. She's such a beautiful soul. Oh my gosh,
yeah, I love that woman.
And you can tell that she has an amazing mom. I love that what Tami can do with words. I love how she has this like desire to assist women to reach their like highest, fullest, most amazing potential. She just is amazing, and I'm gonna let her brag on herself a little bit. I've perused her website, and I was like, dang, I loved it. And so my first experience with Tami was we were on a call. Tami doesn't know this.
I'm about to run out the room. Like, what is she about to say?
This is all on me. So I have this. We're on this call. We're practicing our speeches, and Tami's the first one on. And the honest answer is, I was like, whoa. I felt a little bit of like static and rub with how she showed up in that day, and I know nothing about her. And I thought, wow, that's really interesting. And really what I do is when I have those moments with people, I step back and I breathe and I'm like, okay, what are you feeling? What about that had caused me to have that kind of response or reaction? And what can I do to go build relationship with that person? So I knew it was going to be a minute before I got to build a relationship with Tami. But when we were in India, we got to be in a group together as part of practicing and writing our speeches and such. And I gave the speech at a practice, and Tami leaned down and she looked at me and she's like, "Are you open for feedback?" I told her yes, but inside I was like, no. I don't know if I am or not. Just leave me alone.
Oh man.
And I thought, this is a perfect opportunity to do what I do, and that's to get to know somebody. And sometimes it takes me a minute, and it requires some courage and bravery to own that piece for myself and say, what does this person have to offer me that I am in resistance to, that I don't even understand or know what it is yet, because I don't know them well enough. And the way they're showing up is like really scratchy to me. And so I took the opportunity to, we had 2 or 3 meetings together. And in one of those meetings, I said, I'm not going to give my speech again.
You left out the best part of that whole entire story, by the way.
I did. I can't wait for you to share it. But I learned, Tami and I started having interactions, and I was open to what she was saying. I was open to how she was showing up and presenting herself to me, how she was saying, I see you. I see some things in you. I hear what you're trying to say. And you're just like, not getting it out there. And can I help you? Like, I'm really good at this crap. And can I help you? Can you just give me your speech?
I know.
And
you just put us on blast. Like nobody knew that I wrote your speech.
You took my words.
Yeah.
You took my words and my heart, and you helped me formulate them in a way that it's not that you wrote it. You took what I had and you helped create it into a way that, that it was like this, yeah, you just saw my heart and you took what I said and you made it in a way that then I still had to do some changing. I mean, we only had 3 minutes. But it created this beautiful experience where I had to trust someone with me, with my words, with my thoughts, with my heart, and say, yeah, I'm willing to help you help me mold myself and what I'm wanting to say here in a way. It just created this beautiful cohesion of working together and for common good. And the biggest common good was my own.
Of course, no, but that's actually, it's interesting, Jen, because there's a deeper message here about all of this. So think about this. We traveled halfway around the world to meet each other. We didn't have a meal before that happened when you gave your speech. We hadn't had a meal together. We hadn't had much interaction. It was very like, hey, how you doing? And it wasn't because I didn't like you or I didn't want to get to know you. I think I had a lot of emotion around that trip. So I was hanging back in the beginning.
Sure.
But I was watching you from afar, which is what I think we need to do as people with each other. I was watching you from afar. I'm like, she's really transparent. And I thought you were really smart and really funny. So I was sort of like circling you. Like eventually we will be put in each other's heads.
Right.
And we were. And when you gave your speech, something said to me in my spirit and in my soul, like, that is not who she is. That is not what she is trying to get across. So I was really curious is what drove that. I was really curious about what you weren't saying.
Right.
And I do sort of think if as a society, if we were more curious about what people are trying to convey, we probably wouldn't be like in this mess that we're in right now.
I agree.
So it was curiosity about somebody else that made me want to help you.
And I love that you were curious because I had rewritten my entire speech the night before based off of someone else's.
You should talk about that. You should totally talk about that.
Based off of someone else's input about what I should be saying inside of these 3 minutes. And, thinking like, okay, what is it I'm really trying to say? And what am I? So I had rewritten the whole thing. So what you heard is actually not what I came to India with.
And it also is not who you were. It was like not in alignment with your heart.
Right? Yeah. But here's what's cool about that moment is it actually, when I look back on that, what I wrote that you heard the first time were things that needed to come outside of me in order for me to have some healing to then probably move forward with the rest of what was going on. And even as I step back into my just everyday life. And so it was just the whole process is just like mind blowing to me.
But not for me, by the way. I have to be honest with you. I have been through so much in my life. And a lot of that relief has come through putting pen to paper and getting it out. Like, I just got to get this out. I don't care if anybody, like, nobody can see this. This is just for me.
Right.
I feel like that was your experience. Like, you had to get that out. You had to make way for your true voice and your true light to shine. And I think, the breathing exercise in the beginning was amazing. It gave us a chance to create space. Yes. And that was the beauty of that moment was like, you took a minute. You were so funny, by the way. You were like, I'm not giving a speech. I'm not talking about a speech. I don't want to hear about a speech. And I was like, oh, damn. She's awesome. She is literally defiant.
We were standing there going to give a speech The same speech we had given a couple hours previous, that wasn't even changed. I'm like, why would I give this again?
That was so, I just love the defiance. You're a rebel. That was like a great rebellious moment. I was like, you know what? I'm with you. I wouldn't give a speech either. But anyway, I thought it was great that you created space, and you have such a genuine heart. Like where you come from, how you show up in the world is incredible, which is why I think when I heard your speech, I leaned down. I was like, girlfriend, are you open to some feedback? Because that is
really, you know what? At that point, I was. I think I had to have that moment of like, no, I'm going to tell you I'm open, but I'm not. But I needed that moment, and maybe the moments that happened in between that I'm not going to get into. But you know, when we came back to the motel, and I needed that moment to say,
you called it a motel.
I'm not doing this hotel, whatever it was, wherever we were staying.
It was a motel.
That I needed that moment to just be like, I'm not doing this, because I think that created that openness of like, okay, now I'm actually ready. And now I'm actually ready for some feedback. And to let someone else in.
I think what you did was amazing, because you were really mad and you were very resistant, and then you took yourself out of the entire environment. You just left. I don't know if you went for a walk or what you did, but you came back a totally relaxed, calm person. It was a great study in emotional intelligence. You didn't shut it all down. You're like, let me remove myself for a minute and get my head together.
Yeah.
And then you came back. You were like, all right, what do you got?
Yeah.
I think a lot of us could benefit from that process.
Right.
I'm mad, but I'm going to take myself out of the situation and get my head together, instead of having a knee-jerk reaction that will have ripple effects.
Right. And I think that whole week I had plenty of opportunities to practice that. But I love too what that moment created for all of us is we shifted because somebody chose to be brave in a moment and say, I'm not doing this. But to not do it in a way that, like, I don't feel like I was disrespectful. I was just speaking my truth. And then it caused like this like ripple effect. Everyone else was like, yeah, wait, why are we doing it this way? Why would we go have another meeting when we haven't even had time to sit down? Like, and we said, time out. Like,
your defiance created a bridge. Yeah, your defiance created a bridge and an opportunity for all those other people in the room who were feeling the same way, but were too afraid to say it. And if you remember, I said to the facilitator, I think we don't want to do this again. We want an hour to just sit with each other and talk.
Yeah. And it gave us a chance to just be really real with each other. And we gave our presentations to each other in a way that felt authentic and not judged and open to feedback. And I loved that process of just watching how everybody was kind of shifting and changing and then saying, okay, we're back together. Now I'm ready to I'm going to give you my next version of what I gave you. Like, it just was this cool process. And then to watch how the end result of all of that was it was amazing to me. It's actually something I've not talked about. So I'm glad we're talking about it.
You know what? It was a shift for everybody. And it's so interesting because being a motivational speaker or being a public speaker requires an incredible amount of courage and confidence.
Absolutely.
Because you are bearing your soul, even if you don't think you are. Like, people are looking at you for who you are. So what I loved about that whole shift was that we gave everybody a timeout to figure out, like, what do you really want to say? How do you really want to show? We were speaking to what, 800,000 people? I don't know.
Who knows?
No, that number is a mystery, but every one of those people that we were talking to was receiving us as their fellow human being. Yeah. So how we showed up made a difference. So I loved your defiance because you totally changed the tenor of how a lot of people, everybody rewrote their speeches.
I actually, Thank you for bringing that up, and thank you for celebrating that with me, because until this moment, I actually hadn't thought about that, about the shift that took place, and all of the yumminess in those next few hours, and probably the rest of the day. And wow, thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. I appreciate that. And I appreciate that you saw me, that you, what'd you say? You circled me.
I was like, I'm gonna get to this chick eventually.
Right.
I just need another lunch.
and that you were willing to share your gifts and talents and blend them with what I already had to help me stand more firmly in my own light and to shine even brighter.
There's a life lesson.
Gratitude.
I'm happy with that. But by the way, if you remember, there's a ripple effect that was created because we went from that little workshop thing. Remember the next day we went into my room, like everybody came into the bedroom, our room, and we just were practicing with each other.
Yeah, that's what I was remembering. Is they're like, oh, okay, we're ready to come and do this. Is we're listening and having henna drawn on our arms, and it just was this like the bonding of all of that was. It's the only word I can think of is precious. It was precious moments that. Those are the ones that stick with me, that I honestly have not spent much time thinking about, because there was so much other stuff.
Well, listen, that trip was a lump of coal.
It was
a mess. You wouldn't have gifted it to anybody. It was a train wreck, but
there's a lot of diamonds that
came right pressure applied, and we shifted and we applied pressure in different ways. Like we created this diamond moment for ourselves. Which is just a different perspective on what was a nightmare of a trip. But there was like those awesome moments of awakening and stepping into your power and making connections with people that you wouldn't. I just laugh. Like most of the people that we met are from like the US and Canada, but why do we have to go to India to meet each other?
Right? We went
halfway around the world to meet each other. I could have been in California in 6 hours.
Right? And yet the experience wouldn't have been the same. Like it's that piece of, for me, it's that piece of trusting enough in myself to make that investment in myself of time and money and energy and courage to put myself in an unknown situation and meld with other people and create the bonds and all at the same time, while feeling really insecure and the not good enoughs and holy cow, why am I sitting at the table with all of these amazing people, and having to say, whoa, stop, because you're amazing too, Jen, in your own right and way. And I have things to offer as well.
Listen, if the way we speak to ourselves is unbelievable, because if somebody came up to you on the street and said to you what you say to yourself, you would smack them in the face.
Right.
Like Will Smith slapping Chris Rock. So I don't know why we talk so badly to ourselves. We would never let somebody else do that. So it's that mind chatter, I think, is what you had to quiet.
Absolutely.
That's what most of us have to quiet. That's what insecurity is. That's what, I don't belong here. I'm not good enough. I'm not this. I'm not that. That's you just got to tell, thank you for sharing.
Right. And now go take a nap.
Like, go away. Go walk the dog.
That is literally what I say to myself is, I've heard you, and I will address this later if it's important, so you can just go take a nap.
Exactly.
I got it covered. We're good to go.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, we're so into this. I haven't even asked you the question.
I know. I'm so sorry. I just started talking.
No. This is what I love about it, is the inspiration piece, that we just went in a way that it needed to go. But I do want to ask the question because I'm totally curious.
Uh-oh.
Are you curious?
Uh-oh.
I know.
I'm scared.
Woo! What were you like, Tami, as a kid? And what did you want to be when you grew up?
That's such a great question. When I closed my eyes and I started breathing, I just got a giant smile on my face because my powerful moment was when I was a kid. So what was I like? I was enterprising. So
Yes.
I have a really funny family. Like they're just funny. So I guess my parents didn't have a lot of money when they were like just married. They had like 4 kids before they were 24. So they were like broke like any other 24-year-old is. But then my dad became a partner at a law firm, and the loot started coming in, but he reminded us every day that it was his loot. That's my money. That's not your money. You're broke. We're doing okay. So from a young age, like 6, I became totally entrepreneurial. I was always about like, how can I make money? And by the way, I had nothing I wanted to buy. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't relying on somebody else.
Right? I sold jawbreakers. Like, that's how I started my entrepreneurship. I would buy jawbreakers and I'd sell them for double what I bought them. And then I would buy more the next day. And I took myself to California and my grandma. That's how I became an entrepreneur.
Okay. I'll tell you my first 3 entrepreneurial stories, and that is totally impressive because I basically did the same thing. Okay, so my first venture was I rode my bike down to the local drugstore.
How old were you?
7.
Okay, 7. Yes.
And I asked the drugstore owner, by the way, can you imagine a 7-year-old a black, by the way, my whole town was white and everybody knew the black family was us. I rode my bike downtown. I asked to talk to the owner. He's like, yes, Tami, we know all of you. Like, there's no other black people here. I said, would you give me like 20 greeting cards and I will go sell them door to door and I will bring you back like your money. Like I'll bring you back like what you gave me. And that was like my big idea was like, what a pain to go buy a card. By the way, obviously before the internet, before email, before anything, we actually used to use the postal service.
Right. Yes.
So I sold his cards in like 2 hours and went back and got more. And then he was like, when are you coming back? Like I was in the greeting card business and people loved it. Then I started.
I can see you as the cutest little girl too, like rap on someone's door and you're like, greeting cards. And like, oh, I can't resist.
I was like, boom, funeral, wedding, birthday, communion. What you got? What you got? I'm Eddie. I got plenty. Like whatever you need.
I love it.
But I also started to learn, like, people mostly just wanted birthday cards and then random cards, like, oh, I have a wedding coming up and I need a card to. Anyway.
Any blank ones?
Second entrepreneurial venture was wildly successful. My mother shut it down. So I started a lemonade.
How old were you?
11.
Okay.
I did the card thing for a while, but I was a total athlete growing up, so like nothing got in the way of like playing sports.
Right.
Okay, so I didn't just start a normal lemonade stand. My mom went to work. My dad was already at work, and I got my brothers to help me build like a shack on the front lawn, not a table, with a tape sign to it. We built literally an enclosed shack with cardboard, like boxes.
Oh my gosh!
We cut out the things so we had a window, and I had 2 kinds of lemonade and iced tea and like 5 different cookies. Like I had people in the house making cookies. And we would take it down before my mom got home. Like it was busy. We were busy for hours. We were making like a lot of money. People were hanging out on the lawn, but I would shut it down before she got home.
You're like, you gotta go. My mom gonna be home in like 10 minutes.
You gotta go. Take it to go. Anyway, my mom came home early one day and she was like, what the hell? There was like 15 people on the front lawn, like sitting and drinking lemonade and chilling on blankets.
They just like the whole experience. It's not just, hi, come have a lemonade. It's a sit back and enjoy.
Yeah. And it was beautiful. It was like the summer. We had these big shade trees and we like had an orchard like right up the street. Anyway, that was the most successful, shortest lived business ever. She was like, Tami, I was like, you guys start breaking it down. This is about to go down. I was grounded like for weeks.
Oh, that's such a bummer.
Oh man, the kids were like, what? I had the neighborhood kids working shifts. They were like, so what, we're fired? I was like,
You're
listen,
like,
I'm grounded.
yeah, not fired, but you can't take unemployment either. So sorry.
I'm sorry. You have to find another way of making a living at 12. Like, this is not your lane. And then when I got,
it didn't stop you though, because now you're going to tell me another one.
I'm going to tell you, like, as a kid, I think this was my best one. So I was a babysitter. Like, that's how I made my money. I babysat
Me too.
for people all over like the neighborhood. And one night I got 2 calls to babysit. And I was like, ooh, I don't want to miss out. So I called my friend, Andrea, who lived across the street. I was like, can you babysit for so-and-so tonight? And I'm just going to ask you to give me like 10% of what you make. She was like, all right, no problem.
I'll set up your gig. You just give me a.
I became like a staffing agency for babysitters. I had 30 girls signed up working for me. We were in 4 towns. And we were in 4 towns. Like, I had clients everywhere. And my mom was a realtor, by the way, so that helped. Like, she totally spread the word to all of her clients and other realtors. That was the best business I had.
How old were you there?
I was 13. I was 13. I think I was just in the 8th grade.
How come you think your mom like let you do that? That's a big deal, but she wasn't okay with the lemonade stand.
Legit? Real talk?
Yeah, real talk.
She had no idea I was doing that business. All she knew was that I was going to I babysat Fridays and Saturdays. That's what I did. I had no social life. She had no idea I was running a ring of babysitters in the background.
Oh my God.
And there was no cell phones back then. So these are people calling the house phone.
Oh my word. Okay. See, you're like, I'm running a ring of underground babysitters.
I'm taking a piece off the top.
Right? I got pulled in. So the Jawbreaker sales, I'm selling them out of my locker and during breaks and all of that. And
people did that in my school too.
I was little, I was cute. People liked me, the teachers. And one day my homeroom teacher, Mrs. Walsh, I love her. She pulled me in. She's like, hey, Jennifer, I know that you're selling Jawbreakers. And, but there's some other people who actually think you're selling drugs. I've told them you're not, but you're going to have to stop selling your Jawbreakers at school.
How old were you?
Like 8th grade.
Unbelievable. We were hustlers. Like that was the day of the hustler.
Yeah.
Like, we weren't slinging bad stuff. Oh, by the way, I forgot I had one other business, which is hilarious. I can't believe I have never told anybody this in my life.
This happens to me all the time. People tell me things. They just don't tell anyone else. So bring it. No one else is going to hear this,
Okay. When I was in high school, I was not the smartest kid in the world in every class, but I had Latin down to a science. Ooh. Latin was my lane.
Woo!
So I charged my classmates to do their homework for them. I had regular customers. So this is back in the day. I was, no joke, making like $200 a week. I had to do the homework anyway. I would just change a couple of answers to make them wrong and give people their homework to make them wrong. That was my first like seriously lucrative business.
Oh my gosh.
And now we have Chat GPT. And then there's that.
And then there's that. Oh my gosh, that is crazy. So what do you think you learned from these little ventures, like, and how did it kind of shape what you wanted to be moving into, like, your college years or into your just like your early like baby adulthood? Like, how did that influence what you wanted to do in your world?
I generally think that we're drawn to our passion naturally, but people fight it. Like, they fight it.
Right.
I'm going to go do X, even though my heart is telling me to do Y. So I think for me, by the time I got to high school, I knew for sure that I wanted to be in business. I knew for sure that I love people and I wanted to do something that involved, like, I didn't want to sit in a box somewhere working by myself. I really love people. And I learned the importance of goal setting because every venture I just mentioned, I actually was very intentional, like the babysitting thing. I did the math in my bedroom with my flashlight under my covers because I was supposed to be asleep. I was like, you know what? If I can get 10 babysitters and keep them busy and I take 10% of what they make, like, that's a real number.
Right.
So I really have been driven, like, my entire life, I've been very goal oriented for everything.
Yeah.
And you also learn how not to take no for an answer, which is a very rare skill. But you can tell me, people will tell you, like, oh my God, Tammy, you can't tell her no about something. Because I'm going to keep trying to figure out a way until I am sure there's no way.
Yeah.
And
so what does that look like? Tell me what you learned by that. But then I also want to know, just so the person on the other side listening to this can go, well, wait a minute, what does she mean? She doesn't take no for an answer. And she, like, what is that process?
Yeah, it's not no, like, from a sales standpoint. Like, I'm trying to sell you something and you tell me no, and then I'm going to keep at it. It's not from that vantage point. It's being tenacious. It's being creative. It's not, when I say I don't take no for an answer, I am very good at changing my perspective to see from others' perspective and, like, okay, so this didn't work. I hit a roadblock here. How else can I get around this? Like, what's a workaround?
So in my world, I call that, what's another way?
Okay.
Is that kind of the same thing?
Yeah. Like, how else can I get to the same endpoint?
Yeah.
So that helped me. And I'll share with you a quick story. I was smiling during my breathing because I was thinking about high school. I played softball in high school.
Okay.
And we made it to the state finals. We had a really competitive softball team. And we were going up against this woman. Her name was Kathy Kaminsky.
Oh, don't you love it when you just remember their names? That's such an impression.
I had the nerve to look her up on Facebook once. I'm like, what is she doing now?
Ooh. Hi, Kathy.
Anyway, Kathy Kaminsky was the best pitcher in the state. 90-mile-an-hour windmill. Nobody could off of her. And we were facing them in the state finals. And I remember watching my teammates get up and strike out and get up and strike out and get up and strike out. And the reason I smile is that my dad is a lawyer and he was a partner in New York City, and he rarely could get to my games at the beginning. So that particular game, he knew that was a big game, and he magically appeared in the outfield.
Oh,
in his three-piece suit, like three-piece suit with his big giant video camera.
Oh.
And in between innings, I jogged out to the field and I said to him, nobody's hitting off of Kathy. Like, everybody's been striking out. I struck out at my first at bat. I fouled out at my first at bat. And he said, you just have to make a minor adjustment, which is a life lesson.
Yes.
He told me to drop my hands, tip my bat back, so I'd have an advantage on the speed of her pitch. I was like, that's it. That's it. He was like, that's the one simple little thing. And I got up to bat. I smacked a double in between first and second base. I'm on second base, and I called a timeout, and I went to my teammate who was up next. I'm like, my dad told me to drop my hands. I think we should all just drop our... That was the best moment. We started a rally. We scored a run, which nobody had done off of her. As a team, now I'm talking about a team making an adjustment.
Yeah.
And then I got up the next time, there was 2 people on, 2 outs. I was up. I looked at my dad in the outfield, and he just sort of gave me a look, and I hit a double, scored everybody, and we ended up winning 3-1. And that was all life lessons. Like, that entire experience of watching what doesn't work, and then watching what doesn't work for other people and learning from that, watching what's not working for me and asking for help. That was my dad. But by the way, I could ask you, Jen, like, what's not working here? What's the slight adjustment I can make to find success? That's where I developed that piece of tenacity from.
And there's another piece of that too that I love. That story, I love everything about that story. Actually, I'm like,
it makes me happy.
Like, I'm like on the edge of, if I was sitting, I would be on the edge of my seat, but I found myself like
rocking
forward into it. Yeah. But here's the piece that I love about it too, is you didn't just keep the knowledge to yourself. You took it and you said, wait a second, I was given this piece of information and guess what? It worked. So I'm thinking it might work for the rest of, like, you shared it out. And I think that piece right there is so huge of
absolutely.
Sometimes I know that sometimes in my world, the community that I live in or the groups of people, like I've kind of been taught to almost hoard some of that information. Although my heart knows the difference of like, and the betterment of sharing, but that when we have that information and we share it, like we really do change the world by one up to bats at a time.
One at a time. And I have to honor my coach. He was one of the best coaches in the state. He was crazy, but he was amazing. But when he saw what worked, he stepped back. He let me, like, we called like the team together during the timeout. He's like, tell them what you did. I was like, I just dropped my hands. I dropped my hands and I put my bat lower. And he was like, you heard it, go do it. It was such a great nod also to leadership, because sometimes we need to know when to step back, right? When something's not working.
Well, and I love this piece too that just came to me. You know, your dad was in a completely different position than everyone else who was at that game behind, whether they're in the dugout or they're in the stands. He was in a completely different situation to see a different perspective.
So deep. That's so deep. Different perspective. Different perspective.
Yeah. And that makes such a difference too, is we've got to be willing to go to people who think differently than we do, who maybe are standing in a different position, who are farther down the road, or maybe they're in the left hand, like someone who sees things differently. But we got, like me coming to you, I had to be ready to be like, and now I'm open because you're in a different position than I'm in, and you're seeing it. Like,
that's amazing. I never thought that deeply about that story. I just know that it influenced my entire life. So like when I got to college, boy, the universe has a way of playing games, right? So I was on this winning team in high school. Like everybody was better than the next. Like our team was amazing. And then it was time to go to college. And I got a couple of full scholarships to go play softball.
Dang, girl.
And my dad said to me, there is no such thing as a professional softball team. There's no NFL. There's no NBA for softball. So you need to go to an academic school that happens to have a softball program, which is what I did. I went to a great academic school that had a brand new softball program.
Oh my
God.
I
believe that's where I learned like all of my leadership skills from, because the team was horrible. And unlike the person I am now, all I did was complain about how bad everybody was and how bad the team was. And we were a bunch of losers. Like we didn't win any games in my first season, which is a tough, challenging position. And then we got a new coach the next season, and he was like, hey, big mouth, you think you know everything? You're the captain. I was like, I don't want to be the captain of these people. He's like, you think you know everything. You have something to say about everything. You think you do a great job. Like, be the captain. And I had to use like a whole lot of skills, which has informed.
How'd that work out for you?
It was hard. It was hard because this sounds so terrible. But when I say, and by the way, I'm going to send this to my entire team because we keep in touch. It was hard. It was like herding sheep. There was no leadership. There was no sort of theme. There was no message. There was no like value system. There was no glue that held us together. And that's where I started. That's where I started. My first my first meeting as the captain, I grabbed a softball and we sat in a circle on the grass. And I just said, we're going to do something this is how we communicate. If I toss
like
you the ball.
Talking stick.
Exactly. I said, like, what I can do better as a player that would contribute to the entire team. And then I tossed the ball to somebody and they had to say the same. So it sort of forced all of us to look at what we were really good at and what needed to be improved. That became a thing we did after every game. We tossed the ball and we got better and better, and we turned around, and by the middle of my sophomore year, we were a winning team to beat.
Wow.
And we went on to
so incredible too, like just to the power of one, self-reflection and communication and the vulnerability of saying those things out loud and allowing one, just admitting it to yourself, but then allowing the team to support you in that, like that. Dang.
Yeah.
It's so powerful.
It was amazing. And we had a girl on our team, Kelly Burke. She had the best arm I've ever seen ever. She could throw from the fence in center field, line drive to the catcher. And there was a couple of girls that said, like, we wish we were better at throwing. And she was like, we'll go right after this. We're going to go practice. Like, we all sort of leaned into playing to our strengths to help other people, like, sort of build, which I think it's the importance of having a
makes
team.
Us
like
better too.
Life.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know how we got on this subject, but
I don't either. See, I love it. It's because I asked you how selling and being entrepreneurial influenced you.
And then I'm playing softball in college.
This is what I love about these conversations is we have these moments of just absolute realness. And instead of like being like, okay, I have this list of questions, I'm going to get on here and be professional.
Yeah.
We actually lead with heart, and whatever comes out is the thing that is most important. One, maybe it's the thing I need to hear today, or maybe it's just the thing that your heart needs. Someone out there is going to hear this and be like, dang. And then they're going to be like, how do I find Tami? Because that girl's really cool. And I want to know more about what she does.
So I got to tell you, I had a really great meeting with myself before that India trip. I went to the Bahamas for like a pre-training.
Yeah, I did that too, just not with you.
Yeah, so I went early by myself. I spent 4 days by myself. And I was thinking about like my purpose and what like really makes me happy and drives me. And can you believe like that memory came back? The memory of me being captain in college and the memory of having the game-winning hit in high school. And I realized it helped build the foundation of resilience in me. Facing the odds and winning. In like having no way and making a way out of nothing. And that's how I really wanted to focus on being a resilience trainer, which is how you met me. And like, I was like, you know what, I'm going to go talk about resilience and how important it is for us to be able to bounce back stronger from our challenges. That's the space that you met me in. It was all that.
I love it. And here's what I love about that too is, this is a space I met you in, and she's on stage giving her presentation, and there is all kinds of crazy ass chatter going on the stage, and we're all like,
that crazy yogi behind me screaming his head off.
But she's giving her presentation on resilience, by the way, and she's talking to these bajillions of people, and there's all of this commotion. Like, we're sitting to the side of her, there's people standing around her, and there's a man yelling. He's angry on the stage, and he's in another language, and we're all like, what? We're not sure what's going on here.
Should we run? We were like, should we run?
Yeah, like, should we be afraid? And Tami turns around while she's talking, and I see she turns to where I'm like, I can see her face, and she just smiles and just keeps going.
You know what was funny?
It was so beautiful. Talk about resilience.
In my own head, why he was screaming like a lunatic, like drowning me out. I turned around and looked, And I just laughed. I'm like, I flew 15,000 miles around, halfway around the world to have this dude behind me screaming his head off, and my daughter was there on stage and you guys were there. I just thought the whole thing was ridiculous.
It was definitely
but I
an
appreciate
experience.
What you just said. I totally appreciate, because you said it and Doug said, like, you were giving a speech on resilience while being resilient.
Yeah.
It was not
so
me. That was
perfect.
the universe. That wasn't even me.
Yeah, absolutely perfect. Okay, so what are you currently up to?
So what I'm the most excited about right now is that I'm building a virtual university to teach people how to be resilient. So virtual, meaning we're going to use artificial intelligence and VR, virtual reality. You don't need to use goggles to get in. But it's virtual because anybody can come. It's totally online. So two things. I'm building out the courses right now, and I'm happy to say that you promised to teach a course.
Yes, I did.
So
I appreciate you holding my feet to the fire.
I'm holding your feet. I think it would be so cool for us to teach an adventure course online.
Oh my gosh.
And wrap resilience into everything you're doing. So I'm super excited about that.
I love it.
So if you have anybody in your circle or in your universe, anybody listening, and they want to teach anything around resilience, okay. We talk about resilience in relationships. We talk about emotional resilience, financial resilience. Yeah, there's a couple of pillars, so it's a pretty wide span. Yeah. So looking for faculty, looking for students, you can go to TamiGaines.com and get on the waiting list. Our first course is coming in May, and I'm going to talk about I'm teaching. It's all about how to create calm out of chaos. Out of the chaos that your life is. Like, how do you wrangle an octopus? Like, whether you're
right, the magic in the mess.
Yeah, absolutely. But doing it from a lens of, well, like, what do you really want? Like, goal setting. But it's really like, how do you create calm out of chaos? I have a kid with special needs.
Okay.
I have twins that were extremely premature, so I had 2 at home and 2 in the hospital. And I had to wrangle all of that life to make it work. And I think a lot of people can't figure it out. So I'm super excited to teach that course.
That I'm excited to see how that turns out and to just be a part of that with you. And then you have another venture going on. You're doing virtual university for resilience, and you just started
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I started a podcast.
So what's it called?
It's called Tami's Table. And the feel, Tami's Table is basically, if you think back to your childhood or even in your adulthood, you've been at a party, and don't you always end up in the kitchen eating and talking and drinking? So that's the concept.
It's a homey place.
Yes. No matter where you go, people end up in the kitchen, and that's where you get educated beyond school. That's where you solve the world's problems, and you solve your own problems, and you get educated by elders and people that have been there, done that. Right. So that's the concept, is we do gab, grub, and growth.
Oh my gosh. Okay, hold on, I gotta
write that down. Gab, grub, and growth. So my last podcast, we talked about menu planning and how that could create calm out of chaos in your life for meal prep.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm super excited. It's every Monday from 12 o'clock to 12:30 on Solivity, and I'll send the link.
I'm like, you got to make sure I have that. Yep.
And it's been super fun, and you're going to be a guest.
What?
Eastern Standard Time, 12. It's lunchtime. It's grub time.
I love it.
Yeah, I am sucking you right in because I love what you're doing. I love what you're doing, and you know that. And I think when we talk about resilience, you have a story personally, and what you're doing is also building resilience physically. and expanding the mind. So I'm super excited to have you on. I would tell you what date it is, but I have no idea what date.
We'll keep you posted on the date. It is actually coming soon, if I remember correctly.
It's coming soon.
Well, and what I love about this too is, you know, in Righteous Rebels, one of the things we talk about is being fed. That when people, one of the things for myself is when people are with me, you know, it's always nice to offer them a meal and all the yumminess of that, but I want also that when they leave, they feel fed emotionally and spiritually, and they leave and they're just like, wow, like that was something. And so I love this concept of Tami's table, and
it's so great. And people, part of it. We want you to leave full. I'm full. Yes. I got what I needed and that's why I'm doing it on Mondays, by the way. I want you to start your week strong.
Perfect. Oh my gosh, it's so perfect. So we have lots of really cool, amazing things coming up that we're creating in Righteous Rebels by way of feeding you through adventure and creativity. And we would love for you. We're going to bring Tami into some of this. P.S. We may have just sent you some information to give us some feedback on.
No problem. I'm excited to participate in whatever. I love marrying the physical activity with the mental stamina. I love it.
I do too, because, you know, in the learning that I have, the physical body is the slowest to catch on. As you know, we've got our spiritual body, we've got our emotional body, we've got our mental body, but the physical body is the slowest. And so I love creating opportunities and experiential activities where people can get behind the guardians of the mind and get that physical experience right along with all of the other learning. And it's so damn yummy.
It's just so fun.
And it's fun.
It's fun. And I always just want to leave people better off than when they met me, whether it's a stranger on the street or talking to somebody in the grocery store, talking to someone on the plane, like,
right. Well, and I can honestly say you have left me better than you found me. And I actually feel emotional saying that. I especially when I think back to our first somewhat interaction through a screen and to what
you didn't like me. You didn't like me.
No, it's not that I didn't like you. Something
like, just something about that woman that rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah, but that's my cue to like go pay attention. And I'm so grateful that I chose to pay attention and really get to know the yumminess of Tami Gaines and what you bring to the world, because it's bright and it's beautiful and everyone should have a piece of that. And that's what I love this too, is we get to just share out each other and the goodness that we bring.
Yeah. You're so awesome. Thanks for having me on. This was really fun. And I'm really looking forward to you coming on Tami's table.
Yay! I am too. Good. So keep me posted. Last thoughts. Any like last word of wisdom you want to leave our audience with?
What game are you playing? Are you passionate about it? And what are you willing to do to win? Those are my final thoughts. Personally, professionally, whatever. Just play to win. I'm like Morris Day from The Time. Play to win.
I love it. Play to win. And with that said, this has most definitely been a win today. I'm so glad that we chose to play the game together in all the ways. And remember, if you haven't joined the Righteous Rebel community, go on over to the Facebook page, hit the join button. We'll let you in. There's so much yummy stuff over there that Leah and I are creating. And it's also a place where you can find the replays of today's live and Unscripted. You also can find it on LinkedIn and YouTube. But the Facebook page is where you're going to get lots of information about our June activity, Travel to Greatness. You guys, you want to know about that. And you want to know about the one that we're doing a 6-day, 5-night river leadership. And everyone's a leader, by the way. Experience in one of the most pristine, beautiful places, untouched by many human hands in Idaho. And we would love to have you there. So go over to the page. You'll get the information, or at least be led to the information. And remember, get yourself in the game. Like,
nice.
Get yourself in the game and be bold, be brave, be a rebel. We'll see you soon. That's going to spin for just a minute.